What happens when the CEO walks into his own business and gets mistaken for a homeless man? It was Friday morning, cold, wet, and gray when Leonard Ashby zipped up his old windbreaker and stepped out of his rental car. The hoodie underneath was faded, the jeans loose, and his baseball cap tilted low. He looked nothing like the usual sharply dressed CEO who ran an 11-location fast casual restaurant chain across the Midwest. Today, he was just Leo, a guy applying for a dishwasher job. Leonard had bought the chain 6 years ago from a retiring couple. They had built it from the ground up, and Leonard promised he'd do right by their legacy. For a while, he did. But lately, something fell off. Store 11 on the edge of town had been underperforming. Not terribly, but enough to raise flags. Customer complaints were vague: long waits, rude staff, messy dining area. Nothing specific. Just neglect. He'd never personally visited that location. None of the staff had met him. It was a busy store with high turnover. Perfect for going undercover. Leonard had arranged an interview for a trial shift as a dishwasher. The district manager knew he was coming, but not who he really was. His disguise was good wrinkled clothes, a scratchy beard, cheap sneakers. He even carried a plastic bag instead of a backpack. Just a guy down on his luck looking for any kind of work. He stepped through the front doors at 10:05 a.m., 5 minutes early. The place was quiet, only one customer sipping coffee near the window. A young woman behind the counter glanced up, then looked away. Leonard walked up. "Hi, I'm Leo. I'm here for the 10:15 trial." The girl blinked, then frowned.
Ah.
"Hold on." She turned and called toward the back. "Hey, Rachel. That guy's here. The one you said was coming." A tall woman with straight black hair and a clipboard came out from the kitchen. She looked Leonard up and down. Her nose wrinkled. "You're Leo?" she asked flatly. He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Rachel sighed. "Can you just wait outside for a bit? We're not ready." Leonard blinked. "It's raining." "We'll call you when we're ready," she said, already walking away. He stepped back outside, rain drizzling down his hood. He sat on the bench near the entrance, trying not to feel irritated. Maybe they were just busy. Then the door cracked open. Rachel's voice carried out, followed by a laugh. "I told you he looked like a homeless guy. I almost gave him a sandwich." Another laugh joined hers, male, deeper. "You sure he's not just here for the free food?" Leonard froze. His chest tightened. For a second, he couldn't move. He wasn't angry yet. He was stunned. He had walked into his own store, been told to wait outside in the rain. And now the manager and someone else were laughing about him like he was trash. He stood up slowly. He wasn't going to blow his cover yet. But he wasn't going to forget this either. At 10:30, the door opened again. Rachel stuck her head out. "Okay, come in." Leonard followed her inside. Another employee, a short, wiry guy with a mop and a tired face, gave him a sympathetic glance. "This is Leo," Rachel said, not bothering to look at him again. "He's trialing as dishwasher. Ben, show him the back." Ben nodded and gave Leonard a warm smile. "Come on, man." Leonard followed Ben to the back. The kitchen was cramped but busy. 2 fryers, a grill, and a narrow prep area. Ben pointed to a sink full of pans. "That's you." "Gloves are in the drawer." Leonard got to work. The water was hot, the pans greasy. No one spoke to him. He listened instead. Rachel barked orders. "Move faster, Kayla. This ain't high school anymore." "Kayla," the girl from earlier mumbled. "I'm doing my best." "I don't want her best. I want done," Rachel snapped. Leonard kept scrubbing. Half an hour in, Ben came back. "You okay?" he asked quietly.
Yeah. Just getting into it.
Ben nodded. "If you need a break, let me know." Rachel doesn't really notice. Leonard appreciated that. "You been here long?"
For years, Ben said.
"I like the work, but it's rough. We're always short. People quit fast." "Why?"
Ben shrugged.
You'll see. Leonard did. Over the next hour, he saw Kayla nearly trip when Rachel shoved a tray toward her. He saw Rachel roll her eyes when a customer asked for a fresh burger. He saw a cook walk off the line and no one blinked. But he also saw Ben quietly help Kayla finish her prep. He saw another worker, a tall guy named Theo, clean the dining room without being asked. These people weren't lazy. They were trying, just under pressure. At noon, the lunch rush hit. Leonard was elbow deep in dishes when Rachel shouted, "Leo, mop the lobby."
Now.
He looked up. "I'm in the middle of. You're not here to talk back. Move." He dried his hands and grabbed the mop. Near the front, a woman was apologizing to a customer. "I'm sorry, sir. Your burger was made wrong? I'll fix it." Rachel swept past her. "Just give him a coupon. We don't have time." Leonard saw the customer frown. The woman her name tag said Karina looked humiliated. He mopped silently, watching. Something inside him twisted. This wasn't what he built. This wasn't what he promised. He had seen enough for today. But tomorrow he'd come back. And this time he was staying the whole shift. Leonard returned the next morning at 6:45, dressed the same. The sky was still dark, the parking lot nearly empty. Inside, through the glass, he saw one figure moving behind the counter Ben. He knocked softly. Ben opened the door, surprised. "You're early." Leonard stepped in. "Figured I'd start with the openers. Learn the whole rhythm." Ben gave a small nod, then held out a cup of coffee. "Made extra." Leonard took it. "Appreciate that." They worked side by side in the back, Ben prepping the fryer station, Leonard wiping down counters and organizing pans. The kitchen was quiet, peaceful. For 30 minutes, no shouting, no rush. Just methodical setup. At 7:22, the front door clicked. Rachel entered, coat half-buttoned, talking on her phone. "I told you already, I don't care if she cries. If she can't handle pressure, she shouldn't be here." She hung up, dropped her bag near the register, and glanced toward the kitchen. "You," she called out.
"Leo.
"Did you clean the back fridge?" Leonard paused. "Didn't know it was on my list." Rachel rolled her eyes. "It's common sense. Use it." Ben didn't look up. Leonard walked to the fridge and opened it. The shelves were sticky, containers stacked without labels, something in the corner leaking onto the bottom tray. He grabbed gloves and got to work. By 8:30, the rest of the staff filtered in. Kayla again, looking exhausted, rubbing her eyes. Theo, carrying his own apron in a reusable shopping bag. A new girl he hadn't seen before, maybe 18, nervously adjusted her visor and stood near the register. Rachel barked instructions without looking up from her tablet. "Kayla, cashier."
Theo, Leonard.
"New girl, what was your name?" "Jenna."
"Right."
"Jenna, just shadow Kayla. Don't touch anything until I say so." The girl nodded and clutched a notepad like it was a life vest. Leonard finished the fridge and stepped back into the main kitchen. Ben motioned toward a container of unwrapped burger buns. "These need to be tossed. Mold on the bottom ones." Leonard lifted the top layer and saw it white fuzz starting to creep onto the edges. He carried them out front and set them near the trash. Rachel looked over. "What's that?" Ben found mold. "Tossing the batch." Rachel walked over, pulled back the wrap, and stared down at the buns. "Only a few are bad. Just throw those out. Use the rest." Leonard held her gaze for a moment. "You sure you want to serve those?" Rachel folded her arms. "They're fine. We're not running a hotel. Use them or don't eat." Leonard didn't answer. He walked them straight to the dumpster. Behind him, Rachel muttered, "Wasteful." By mid-morning, the store got busy. A school bus had dropped off a group of teenagers nearby, and they poured in, loud and energetic. Kayla tried to keep up, but Rachel hovered, correcting her every few seconds. "Stop apologizing. Just ring them." Jenna fumbled the drink lids. One cracked, spilling soda over the counter. Rachel stormed over. Are you serious? Can you at least pretend you've worked a job before? I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be competent. Leonard stepped over with paper towels and started wiping. Jenna's hands shook. Kayla leaned in, voice low. She's only been here 2 days. Rachel snapped. If you have time to whisper, you have time to clean trays. Leonard waited until Rachel walked away, then looked at Jenna. You okay? She nodded quickly.
Yeah.
Just nervous. He handed her a clean towel. You're doing fine. Everyone starts somewhere. She gave a faint smile and turned back to the register. At 1:30, the rush ended. The dining room was a mess, napkins on tables, trays left behind, floor sticky near the soda machine. Theo was already out there with a broom, working in silence. Leonard grabbed a bucket and joined him. Theo didn't speak until they were both crouched behind the corner booth, picking up wrappers. You're not like the others. How so? You listen. Leonard didn't reply right away. Then, you think people don't listen here? Theo stood and dumped the trash into the bin. They hear, but they don't listen. Leonard nodded once. Back in the kitchen, Kayla was restocking sauces. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, hesitated, then silenced it. Leonard caught the name on the screen. Mom Hospital. You need to take that? Kayla looked up surprised. It's fine. Didn't sound like nothing. She shrugged. She's stable. I can't afford to leave early. He was about to ask more, but Rachel's voice cut in. That station isn't going to restock itself. You want to chit-chat, do it on your break. Leonard turned slowly. She's working. Leave her be. Rachel stared at him. Excuse me? I said she's working. You might try it sometime. The room froze. Ben dropped a spatula. Jenna turned away, pretending to wipe down the counter. Rachel stepped forward. You don't tell me how to run my store. Leonard held her gaze. It's not yours. Rachel's eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? He took off his cap. Then the hoodie. Ben's eyes widened.
Kayla's jaw fell slack.
I'm Leonard Ashby, he said. I own this company. Rachel's face drained of color. You're lying. He pulled out his ID, handed it to her. She didn't take it. Just stood there, silent. Leonard looked around the room. I've spent the last 2 days watching how this place runs. I've seen how you treat people, how you cut corners, how you talk about customers and staff behind their backs. Rachel's voice came out thin. I didn't know, you didn't care. She stepped back.
Wait.
Can we talk? No, he looked at Ben. How long's she been like this? Ben hesitated. Since she got promoted last year. People try to transfer out. Some quit. Some just deal. Leonard turned to Kayla. You? Kayla swallowed. I tried to file a complaint once. Nothing happened. He looked at Jenna. You been here 2 days. Wanna stay? She nodded slowly. He turned back to Rachel. You're done. Her mouth opened, but no words came. She turned and walked out without a sound. Leonard faced the staff. She's gone. Anyone who ever felt ignored, that ends now. No one spoke for a few moments. Then Kayla exhaled. I didn't think anyone would ever actually do something. Leonard looked around. We start fresh.
Today.
Right now. Ben stepped forward. What about coverage? We're already short. Leonard nodded. I'll work the rest of the shift. And corporate will send someone to help tomorrow. But long term, we're hiring. Real training. Real support. Theo leaned on the broom. You sticking around? Leonard smiled. For a while, yeah. Kayla looked at the others.
So,
who's gonna tell the lunch crowd we're out of moldy buns? Everyone laughed. Even Jenna. The tension broke. But Leonard's mind kept moving. This was only one store. He had 10 more to visit. By Monday, Leonard had quietly added 2 more shifts to his calendar. He told corporate he'd be off-grid for the week and arranged for regional oversight to pause major decisions.
No announcements. No alerts.
He needed to see how deep the rot ran without tipping anyone off. He was back at store 11 before sunrise, this time as himself. Ben unlocked the door and nearly dropped his keys when he saw Leonard standing there in a clean button-down and dark slacks. "Didn't expect you this early," Ben said, blinking. Leonard stepped inside. "I'm here to observe. Not as a mystery guest this time." Ben nodded once but said nothing more. He moved back toward the prep station, more careful now but not nervous. Kayla arrived 10 minutes later, hair tied back, holding a small brown paper bag. Her shoulders stiffened when she saw Leonard. She walked up, steady but cautious. "I didn't know if I should still come in." "You're scheduled, aren't you?" She gave a small nod. "Then you're needed." Jenna came next, arms wrapped around her chest against the cold. She gave Leonard a quick glance, then looked away. He remembered how shaken she'd been the day before. "Morning, Jenna," he said. "Hi." He didn't push more than that. Trust wasn't something you demanded, especially after what she'd seen. Later that morning, a temporary shift supervisor from another location arrived, a soft-spoken woman named Carla. Leonard had personally called her in. She was experienced, even-tempered, and had never missed a compliance audit. When she entered, she took one look at the disorganized prep area and frowned. "I'd like to start with hand-washing protocols and food storage," she said without waiting for approval. Leonard gestured toward the kitchen. "It's all yours." Carla moved with calm authority. She didn't raise her voice, but people listened. She asked questions, took notes. When she found a stack of expired sauce packets tucked behind the fryer, she didn't yell. She just held one up and said, "How long has this been here?" Theo walked in around 9:30. He saw Carla, then Leonard, and hesitated. "I wasn't sure who to report to." Leonard stepped closer. "Still me. Carla's support. You'll like her." Theo nodded and headed to the back without further questions. By mid-morning, the store was in steady motion. Carla had assigned Jenna to shadow her directly, using the opportunity as real-time training instead of shaming. Kayla was managing the register without being barked at. Theo restocked the drink station efficiently, only pausing to help a customer in a wheelchair navigate a tight corner between tables. Leonard observed everything from a corner booth. He didn't intervene unless needed. This wasn't about playing hero. It was about listening, this time with both ears open. He noticed something strange around 11:15. Ben was moving slower than usual. Not lazy, just sluggish. He'd pause between tasks, grip the edge of the counter a bit too long, blink hard like he was shaking off a headache. Leonard approached casually. "You good?" Ben gave a faint smile.
"Yeah.
"Just didn't sleep much." "You sick?" "Not contagious. Just didn't want to call off after everything." Leonard looked at him a long moment. Then he called Carla over. "Ben's going to take a half-hour off the line. Give him a quiet spot and some water." Ben tried to protest. "I can keep going. You've already done enough. Sit down." He didn't argue a second time. Carla pointed him toward the break room. When Ben left, Leonard turned to Carla. "I want to know his hours for the last 2 weeks. Clock-ins, breaks, everything." She nodded. "I'll pull it." The lunch crowd rolled in hard at 11:30. A group of construction workers, 2 elderly couples, and a handful of teenagers. The line grew fast. Kayla handled it, but her voice started to strain. Theo stepped in to help without being asked. Jenna, still under Carla's watch, offered to run trays to tables. That's when it happened. A woman in her 40s, hair pulled back tight, approached the counter. She was dressed in a navy pantsuit and carried a large black handbag. Her tone was clipped before she even spoke. "Is this the only register open?" Kayla answered calmly. "Yes, ma'am, but I can help you right now." The woman didn't move forward. She looked Kayla up and down, lips twitching. Do you have a manager on duty? Leonard stood from his booth and walked over. I'm the owner. Can I help you? The woman's eyes narrowed. You own this franchise? I own the company. She turned back to Kayla. Then I'd like to know why your cashier looks like she just rolled out of bed and smells like a grease trap. Silence fell around the counter. Kayla froze. Her face went blank, not angry, just blank. Leonard stepped between them. That's enough. The woman raised her chin. I expect a certain standard of appearance. You're done, Leonard said. You will not speak to my staff that way. She's the one who, no. You came in here looking for something to criticize. You found the youngest person at the counter and tried to make a scene. He pointed to the door. You can leave now. Her eyes widened. You're turning away a paying customer? I'm protecting my team from harassment. She stared at him a full 3 seconds, then turned and walked out without another word. Kayla didn't move. Leonard turned to her. You okay? She nodded, but her voice was tight.
Yeah. Take 5.
Water, deep breaths. That wasn't about you. She walked to the back slowly. Carla stepped in to cover the register. 15 minutes later, Leonard found her in the break room, sitting on a stool near the lockers. I've had worse, she said before he could speak. I don't accept that as normal. She looked up. What are you really doing here, Leonard? This store's been like this for months. Maybe longer. You didn't know. He sat across from her.
No.
I didn't. And that's my failure. I trusted a layer of management that stopped caring. She folded her hands in her lap. People think these jobs are just stepping stones. But some of us are trying to build something. I know. That's why I'm here now. She nodded, but he could tell her guard was still up.
He stood.
There are going to be changes. Not just here. Everywhere. But I need people like you to help rebuild it. Kayla didn't respond, but when she went back to the front, her head was higher. By late afternoon, Carla had collected a full report: unscheduled overtime, missed meal breaks, short staffing, and inconsistent training logs. One line stuck out. Ben had worked 12 straight days, including 4 doubles, with only 1 recorded break. Leonard called him into the office. Ben sat down slowly. Am I in trouble?
No.
But you're done for the day. Ben blinked. You serious? You're taking tomorrow and Wednesday off. Full pay. Non-negotiable. Ben looked like he might argue, then just nodded. Thanks. Leonard leaned back. Why didn't you say something? Ben looked down at his hands. Didn't want to lose hours. Didn't want to seem weak. You're not weak. You're one of the reasons this place didn't fall apart.
Ben stood.
I'll be back Thursday. Only if you're rested. After he left, Leonard sat at the desk alone for a few minutes. The store was still running. Carla was handling things, but the weight of what he'd seen pressed on him. He picked up the phone and called corporate. I want a full audit of store-level management across all locations. Starting tomorrow.
No filters. No summaries.
I want raw data. The voice on the other end hesitated. That could take time. Then start tonight. He hung up, and for the first time in a long while, he felt like he was finally running his company again. Not from behind a desk, but right in the middle of it. By the end of the week, Leonard had visited 4 of his 11 locations unannounced. Each one revealed a different version of the same problem: frontline employees trying to hold things together, while middle management operated unchecked, insulated by weak oversight and outdated systems. But Store 11 had been the worst. And it was where he chose to begin rebuilding. He arrived just before opening on Saturday, walking in through the back door as the first rays of light cut across the parking lot. Carla was already there, reviewing a clipboard in the dry storage room. She nodded as he entered, then looked toward the prep station where Theo was organizing the morning stock. Training packets delivered, she said, handing him a sealed folder. This team's going to need more than just new rules, though. Leonard opened it and flipped through the revised documentation, clear job roles, new incident reporting structure, and a revised chain of accountability that bypassed store-level managers if needed. He closed the folder. They're getting a new culture. And it starts today. Ben walked in a few minutes later, rested but still quiet. Leonard spotted the hesitation in his movement, not fatigue this time, but uncertainty. After spending days running himself into the ground, being told to slow down wasn't something he was used to. "I spoke with payroll yesterday," Leonard said, handing him a printed sheet. "You've got 40 hours covered, and I authorized a bonus for what you carried through last month. You're not going to make less because someone else failed to lead." Ben looked at the paper, then folded it without comment. "Appreciate it. I'll be up front if you need me." Leonard didn't stop him. Trust had to be rebuilt, not demanded. At 9, the doors opened. Saturday traffic was steady, mostly regulars' families with young kids, a few older couples who came in every weekend. Kayla arrived mid-shift, her uniform pressed, a small notebook in hand. She approached Leonard directly. "Can I talk to you about something?" He stepped aside with her near the back cooler. "I've been thinking," she began. "I want to move into a training role. Not management yet, just helping onboard new hires. I've seen a lot of people get overwhelmed here. I think I could help them adjust. You'd need time to shadow Carla and complete the new trainer module. I'm fine with that. I just want to contribute in a way that lasts." Leonard nodded. "You're the first to ask. That matters. I don't want to wait around hoping this place gets better. I want to be part of the reason it does." He handed her a printed checklist. "Shadow with Carla today. If she signs off, we'll start your onboarding Monday." Kayla took it and walked back to the front, her pace more deliberate than it had been all week. By late afternoon, the team had settled into a rhythm. Jenna had found her footing, working the drink station without needing instruction. Theo took over coordinating orders during the lunch wave, and Carla remained a steady presence, stepping in only when needed. Leonard stayed on the floor, circulating quietly, watching how people interacted now that Rachel was no longer looming over them. Tension had been replaced by a cautious sort of energy, not cheerful, but focused. No one was waiting to be yelled at. No one was being ignored. At 2:30, the district HR representative arrived. Leonard had invited her for a private meeting in the back office, where he outlined the events of the past week. He provided copies of the audio logs from the customer service line, Rachel's filed complaints, and the internal reports Carla had compiled. He ended by sliding a small envelope across the desk. "She threatened to dock pay for missed side work. That's not just unethical, it's illegal in this state." The HR rep, a woman in her 50s with a calm, even tone, reviewed the documents carefully. "We'll flag her in the system permanently. She won't be eligible for rehire in any capacity. She shouldn't be in a leadership role anywhere. Not in food, not in retail, not anywhere with people." The HR rep nodded and stood. "I'll personally handle her file." As she left, Leonard caught a glimpse of Jenna near the condiment bar, helping a child refill his soda after he spilled it. She knelt down to mop up the mess herself, smiling gently as she reassured the boy's mother it wasn't a problem. He walked over after they left. "You handled that well." She looked up, startled. "It wasn't a big deal."
It was.
Small things become big things when people notice them. You didn't wait to be told. You saw something and acted. She hesitated. "I wasn't sure I'd last here when I started." "You've lasted. That counts." She nodded once and returned to wiping down the counter. At 4, Leonard called a brief team meeting in the dining area. He didn't stand on a table or raise his voice. He gathered them in a loose half-circle and spoke plainly. "I'm not here to give a speech. You've all seen enough of what happens when people make promises and disappear. So I'll keep this simple." He looked around at each of them. "You've got a new store lead starting Monday. Carla will stay for the next week to support the transition. Kayla's stepping into a training role. Ben will manage scheduling while we finalize a permanent assistant. He paused. But more important than titles or roles, you're all going to have a say in how this store works moving forward. We're launching a monthly feedback session. No filters. You speak, we listen. And if something's wrong, you won't have to wait to be heard. Theo raised a hand slightly. And if it's not as bad as it was, but still not right? Leonard didn't hesitate. Then we fix it. He let that settle. Last thing. I've authorized a 10% wage bump across the board here. No conditions. You've earned it. A few people exchanged glances. No one cheered. It wasn't that kind of room. But the silence felt heavier, more meaningful than applause. After the meeting, Carla lingered in the back with Leonard. You're not going to be able to do this in every store personally. I know. Then how do you make sure it doesn't slide back? I'm building a new internal structure, not just oversight accountability. We're removing invisible managers and replacing them with visible leaders. If someone's name is on the door, they'll be responsible for what happens behind it. Carla gave a small nod. It'll take more than policy. That's why I started here. This team deserves to be the first to see it work. She glanced toward the front, where Theo was showing Jenna how to set up the POS for closing. You've got the right people. I've got people who stayed when they had every reason to leave. That's better. By closing time, the store was clean, the registers balanced, and the kitchen reset. As the team filed out, Leonard stood by the door, shaking each hand individually, not as a gesture, but as recognition. When Ben came last, he paused. You really going to keep doing this? Leonard nodded. Every store, every city, until there's nothing left to hide. Ben looked around the store. Quieter now, lights dimmed. Feels different in here. It should. He stepped outside, the air cool again, the sky deepening into dusk. The same bench sat outside the front entrance, where days earlier he'd been told to wait in the rain. He looked at it for a moment. Then he turned away and walked to his car, not because he'd forgotten what happened there, but because he'd made sure it wouldn't happen again.